I am amazed at how many of you carrying out electrical work are not registered part of a competent person scheme such as Napit or the NIC. I have recently discovered this, and I have a couple of theories about why this is occurring, but I was shocked to find out so many of you guys doing influencing in the electrical industry, changing consumer units, installing EV chargers, carrying out EICRs, etc, etc, not even part of a competent person scheme, not notifying building control, basically scamming the clients a little bit because they believe you are all up together when you're not. Either way, I'm not going to moan too much about that. What I want to do is help those people join one, because people like me who try and do it properly spend an awful lot of money, and as I make videos on electrical content, I think it's up to me to set a good example to you in order to encourage this electrical industry to grow and prosper. So if you're about to have your Napit or the NIC inspection, do not panic, I've got you covered. And if you are just petrified basically of being assessed by someone, which is, I think, one of the biggest causes for people not joining these schemes, I'm going to show you how to prepare for it and everything you need. And really, if you're a qualified electrician, you've got some experience, you're proud of your work, you do the best job, you have absolutely nothing to worry about. And don't forget, we are the ones paying the NIC and Napit to become part of their registered scheme. So we're actually the clients. So if you have an inspector who is rude or constantly trying to pick at you, politely remind them that you're the one paying their wages. You're the customer, and that's very important for them to remember. Number one question, what is a competent person scheme? A competent person scheme is basically an organisation, Napit, NIC, and they come out and they inspect you, your paperwork, etc, etc, and just make sure that you're doing a good job and your work is safe. That's really what it's all about. Safe, compliant work. This allows you to self-certify your work, and you basically notify building control of the works that you're completing on their behalf, which applies for most things that we do. When you install a new circuit, an EV charger, replace a consumer unit, all these things are notifiable works, and you need to be really registered to a competent person scheme. Remember, the assessor is not actually there to catch you out. You can learn from them, ask questions. We all don't know everything. They will go through an installation of yours, and they might point out one or two things that you may not have realised, which is okay. That's allowed. It's not a pass or a fail with no mistakes. There's a little bit of leeway where you get sort of marked down on a few things and there's room for improvement. But that's normal and part of life. I'm currently at one of the jobs that I'm hoping my inspector might pick. You have to give them 2, 3 or 4 jobs, depending on what organisation you're with, for them to inspect, and they will choose either 1, 2 or 3 or 4 or all of them or whatever. So I'm just going around just making sure that the jobs that I'm suggesting, nothing has changed, my customers haven't done anything and no one else has been in and done anything dodgy. It's a little pre-inspection which is worth the time. I'm under what's called a full scope, which allows me to do domestic and commercial works. You can argue that you don't need to be part of a CPS scheme to do commercial and industrial works. Argue what you like, argue amongst yourselves. I'm not interested. I do it because I'm just trying to be the most professional I possibly can. This job is actually not complete, and that's okay. I've still got a new board I've installed. I've still got finished circuits. I've got unfinished circuits, but you don't have to show a completely finished job. Sometimes it's just not possible. To give you an idea of some of the things that they're going to ask you to do, they're going to ask you to potentially safe isolation, definitely. They're going to watch that, and they're going to inspect some of your installation. That may be you removing some sockets, taking off the cover of the board, light switches, fittings, all those sorts of things. There's going to be a visual inspection going on, and then they're going to ask you to carry out some testing. This is something that you should all really be competent in anyway. ZS, R1, R2s, IRs, all the normal stuff. If you can do this, honestly, you're going to be absolutely fine. They may even ask to check your van and make sure that you're actually organised properly. And they're going to ask for some things like your calibration certificate for your tester, which I keep in my testing bag. And here is mine here, my MFT X1, date of issue 7th of the 10th. So, and these last for a year. So if you're preparing for it, preparing for this assessment, make sure your testers are all calibrated. And that's one of the other reasons for these whole CPS schemes. It makes you accountable to make sure that your test equipment is in good order. Lots of people don't like competent person schemes because they think it's just an absolute rip-off. I'm not going down that route today. I know people think it's a money grabbing scheme, and the fact that anyone can buy stuff from Screwfix and install it, I know that's a problem. That's not what this is about. This is about you who want to encourage the industry to be good, be professional, provide professional work, and get organised. I'm just giving you some guidance on that. Make sure your van is organised with the gear that you want. Make sure that you have your lock-off kits. Make sure you've got GS88 appliance testing probes. Make sure you've got a proving device. All these things you may not use every day, but they're going to want to see it in the back of the van. So in the event that you do need it, you do have it. When your inspector comes to see you, this may be at your office if you've got one. If not, it might be either on site or at your house if it's your first assessment maybe. He's going to want to see some paperwork, books and documents. You're going to want to make sure that you've got your BS 7671, your on-site guide, guidance note 3, other bits and bobs. You're going to want a health and safety policy and a risk assessment for the job or a job that you're doing at the minute, a complaints record, hopefully that's blank, a copy of your insurance. For me, where I am full scope, I have public liability and indemnity, a copy of your CPD record. A lot of these things, these templates, like the CPD record, this one's like, it's got NIC on it, for God's sake. So you can just go on the NIC website or the Napit website, all these sorts of places, just Google templates and you'll get templates for your CPD, you'll get templates for the complaints record, health and safety policy, risk assessment. It's all online, a simple Google search. We'll pull all this together for you, so keep it simple. And if you do register with Napit and you've got access to their online bits, they'll have everything on there for you anyway, so you can just download it, easy peasy. I also have these folders which I keep things in, things that are brought up every year. So in here, I have my electricity at work regs, my part P, GS38 4th edition. Make sure you get a copy of that. You can get that offline, easy peasy. I also have some other bits like showing short guides to working 8 cable sizes, things that they like to see you have. Certificates. Put all of your certificates in a folder. For me, I'm a time-served electrician, so I have my completed electrical apprenticeship. I have my AM2 certificate, MVQ level 3 certificates. That's all there. Keep it in a folder. You're going to need this stuff every single year, so just keep it all together. And then I put another folder together with the jobs. So they're going to ask you for, oh my God, mobile phone. They're going to ask you for the jobs that they're potentially going to look at with you. They want to see your quotes. They want to see your invoicing. They want to see the certification. So I just put a folder together for those jobs and put it all together, and then you can literally just sit down and go, here's all the information, and go and make yourself a cup of tea. Everything that you're going to need reference-wise is going to be on a checklist that you get sent. So you can just pull all this together, no problem at all. They're going to sit down with you, they're going to go through all this, they're going to tick all their boxes, and they're also going to issue you with a form with some questions on it, which is no different to any college course that you've gone to. You can use things like your BS 7671 to find the answers to it. There's really nothing to worry about. As long as you've got everything that I've said here, along with anything that I've missed out on a checklist that they've sent you, that's really it. And then after that, you're just going on site to do some testing. They're going to inspect a few bits and bobs, ask you questions, ask you how you've worked bits and bobs out. There's really nothing to worry about if you know what you're doing. I don't want to make this a really long video, and I don't want to overcomplicate it. The way this is literally going to go for you is you're going to meet your assessor, make him a cup of tea or coffee, maybe offer him a biscuit, and then he's going to ask to see all of these documents. Don't wait for him to ask you. Just have it like I have here, all laid out, and he can just sit there leisurely and work his way through it. Well, that build up a relationship and a bond, because the chances are you're going to have that same assessor year in, year out. They work locally. Once he's gone through all of this, he's going to ask you some general electrical questions. All questions that you should really know the answers to, and it's not a closed book exam. Use your on-site guide, use your BS 7671, use all of your information here to answer those questions. Once you've done that, he's going to pick a job. And that job is going to ask you a few questions about what it's like. He's going to want to see the quote for it. He's going to see the invoice for it. He's going to want to see maybe photos. If you take photos of it, that's even better. Just give a little bit of preparation for that. And then you're going to go off and look at that job. On the job, he's going to ask you to carry out electrical testing. This is very normal stuff that all of you guys should know how to do. He's going to ask you to maybe perform safe isolation. If it's a 3-phase commercial job like mine was, he asked me to do phase rotation, demonstrated that. In the back of your van, make sure you've got your locking off kits. Make sure your van's clean and tidy. Make sure your tools are in good nick, because at the end of the day, you are kind of representing Napit or the NIC from this point onwards. So they need to inspect to make sure that you're all up together. Once he has gone through everything on site, hopefully not snagged you, he's going to ask you to take off sockets and switches maybe, or take down lights and see what your connections are like. Make sure you're not doing anything obviously stupid. And that's basically it. There's not a lot more to it. I'm trying to encourage people to go down the competent person schemes route. And the reason for that is I've been made aware of so many electricians who are not doing this, and there's a few consequences to that. One, the customer suffers because they don't know anything about this and they assume that you're all up together and you can sign off the works, because if you're not part of a competent person scheme, the chances are you're not notifying building control or any of those other bits and bobs. You're not doing it, are you? And the other reason, because these people don't have the additional expense of the competent person schemes, you may find they are undercutting you slightly, which brings all of our money down. I know that a lot of people's problem with competent person schemes is the fact that it is a voluntary scheme, which means you don't have to obviously be a part of one. But the knock-on effect of that is that anyone can technically be an electrician. We've all done lots of training to carry out this works, and why don't we all band together and secure it and try and push this forward so everyone who carries out electrical works must be qualified and must be part of a competent person scheme. I'm against, as much as you are, with people like Screwfix selling consumer units. That should not be allowed as far as I'm concerned, because that basically tells anyone that if they sell it, why can't they install it? Which is absolutely wrong. So if, as frustrated as you may be about this, the certification side of things to become a qualified electrician is tightening up. And now would probably be a good time to jump on a competent person scheme. That's just my personal advice anyway. I hope you found this sort of stuff useful. It's nice and simple. It's not complicated. I don't want it to be complicated. I want to encourage you to do it and be the best electrician you possibly can. Subscribe to my channel.